Welcome to my Days of Our Lives official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Konstantin activates the pawn at Teresa and Alex's apartment. Teresa called to Alex through an unrestricted door as she began to strip. She seductively talked about satisfying his big appetite with a special breakfast. When he did not respond, she said she would be his alarm timepiece and opened the door to find an empty room. Confused, she transferred Alex a textbook and asked if he'd left for work beforehand. Teresa tied her mask and answered a banging on the door. She was bothered to find Konstantin on the other side. Konstantin slogged in and incontinently launched into a diatribe about Maggie making him subscribe a prenup. Smart cookie, an amused Teresa cracked. Konstantin raged that he hadn't come as far as he'd to lose everything. He demanded Teresa's help. An incredulous Teresa asked what Konstantin anticipated her to do. When she sarcastically suggested making the prenup go poof, Konstantin affirmed that was exactly what he'd in mind. Teresa mocked Konstantin's plan to have her break into the safe and reminded him she was not Catwoman. She also reminded Konstantin that Maggie probably had a digital dupe of the agreement. Konstantin claimed he'd inked the only dupe and had witnessed Maggie place it in the safe. Konstantin advised Teresa of all she had to lose, including the plutocrat, Alex, Brady, and the respect of her son if she didn't help him. He also stormed out, leaving an upset Teresa before. Kristen and Alex continued to enjoy each other's company in the bedroom. After they finished, they flashed back how they had spent the night laboriously engaged in colorful locales. Kristen had set up the 2 rounds in the clawfoot hogshead especially grueling. Alex made a move to get out of bed after Kristen mentioned Rachel coming by soon, but Kristen reminded him that Rachel catching them snuggling had been the plan. Alex smiled and moved by on Kristen again, agreeing they would have no trouble making their passionate affair real. Latterly, Alex showed off the incandescent red and black mask he would put on for Kristen. She called it sexy, and he joked about wanting a velvet smoking jacket rather. Kristen believed that when Rachel saw Alex in Mommy's mask, the girl would tell Brady each about it. Alex and Kristen participated coffee and kisses as they marveled at how they had both believed that Brady and Teresa, independently, had been the only bones for them. They had enjoyed the slight diversion of the night ahead and began another round. Subsequently, Kristen called Brady to find out why he had not arrived. Brady informed Kristen that he formerly had Rachel, and they were having breakfast at the cantina. Kristen claimed Brady had to return because she hadn't inked Rachel's field trip authorization slip. Brady was surprised because he'd the inked slip, and he asked Rachel about it. The girl confessed that she had forged Kristen's hand. When she hung up, Kristen realized her plan had been baffled. After she told Alex about her little rascal, he called Rachel a chip off the old block. Kristen concurred and lamented that they had missed their occasion. Alex smoothly wondered if the snuggling had been for nothing. Kristen gave a sultry smile and suggested they continue their fantastic, life-altering, instigative time together. Alex readily complied and carried Kristen to the bed. After Alex left, Kristen reclined in bed as she left a communication for him on his phone. She disregarded about his gorgeous body and his capability to take control. While it had not gone as hoped, she believed Alex agreed it had gone a whole lot better. She ended the communication by suggestively telling Alex she wanted to see him again and again and again and again. Alex returned to the apartment and set up Teresa staying for him. She testily remarked that he was in the same clothes as the night ahead and that he had not slept in his room. Alex asked why she watched, as they were only roommates. Teresa rightly supposed that Alex had been with Kristen and angrily lashed out about the effects that 2-timing wine has put me through. Alex claimed that who he'd been with was none of Teresa's business, because Teresa had made it clear that Alex and she'd remain rigorously platonic. Teresa admitted that while she did not have the right to feel angry or jealous, she did. Alex's phone began ringing, and he ignored the call when he saw it was from Kristen. He dismissively told Teresa he'd to go, and they would talk latterly. Ava saluted Brady and Rachel, who were enjoying a daddy-son breakfast at the Brady pub. They gabbled about Rachel's field trip until John arrived. After she noted John's harsh look, Ava made a quick retreat. Rachel rushed to her smiling forefather and gave him an enthusiastic clinch. John joined Brady and Rachel and beamed as Rachel happily told her granddad about winning a spelling freak. Rachel left the table to say hello to a friend she saw, leaving father and son to bandy Kristen. Brady was hopeful that Kristen had turned a corner, since she had been encouraging him to spend further time with their son. John was not convinced and wondered if Kristen's unforeseen reversal was another ploy to get Brady back. Brady did not reject the idea but forcefully stated that Kristen would have to get over it because they were no way ever getting back together. Brady reminded his father that Kristen had ultimately given up on John, but John riposted that Kristen and he didn't partake a child together. Brady and John's talk was intruded by the call from Kristen wanting to know about Rachel's authorization form. While Brady was still on the phone, Rachel admitted that she had copied her mama's hand. After he hung up, Brady scolded Rachel for her phony. When Rachel asked if it would have been okay if she had not gotten caught, an irritated Brady likened Rachel to her mama and explained that phony was a crime anyhow. He told Rachel she had to understand that her conduct were wrong. Before John excused himself, he affirmed to Pumpkin that her pater wanted what was stylish for her, and John prompted her to hear to her father. John hugged Rachel and left. Rachel turned the subject to Brady and asked if he'd a gal. Brady guessed that Rachel wanted to know because she had been hoping her parents would get back together. Rachel told Brady that her mama had a swain. When Brady asked how Rachel felt about it, she signed and said Alex sounded nice. Brady assured Rachel that indeed though Kristen and he were not together, it had nothing to do with Rachel. Both her parents loved her fully. "You are the most important thing to me," Brady said. As they walked outside the cantina, Rachel told Brady how happy it made her to spend time with him on the field trip. Brady smiled at Rachel and effused that he was happy to spend any time doing anything with her. "Let's go see some fish," he said as they left, hand in hand, for the terrarium. Trip and Wendy arrived at Kayla and Steve's apartment to say goodbye. Kayla and Steve were sorry that Stephanie couldn't be there because of work, but Trip assured them he'd formally said his farewells with her. Trip promised that Wendy and he'd be back. Trip streamlined Steve and Kayla on his plans once he arrived in China, which included literacy Mandarin and volunteering at a clinic. Wendy joined Kayla when Kayla went to prepare breakfast, leaving father and son with alone time. Trip assured Steve that Wendy had filled him in on common Chinese customs, similar as no way wearing shoes inside, no way using someone's first name unasked, and no way leaving tablewares straight over in food. After joking about the tablewares being good advice, Steve brought up Trip and Wendy's marriage when they had been held interned. Trip verified the story but said that when they'd had access to oxygen again, Wendy and he'd realized they should take the relationship decelerate. Steve told Trip how proud he was of his son and the man he'd come. They participated a warm clinch. In the kitchen, Kayla participated an inversely warm farewell with Wendy. Kayla was happy that Wendy's parents would get to see and clinch Wendy in person. Wendy was happy, as well, since her mama had wanted to meet Trip. Kayla and Wendy agreed that Trip was an awful man. Wendy said she was lucky to have him, and Kayla believed Trip was lucky to have her. Ava arrived for Trip's farewell, and after some original awkwardness, Steve let her in. Ava hugged Trip, who was thankful she could stop by. Ava offered to accompany Trip and Wendy when they left for their rideshare. Steve and Kayla jokingly told Wendy to keep Trip out of trouble and asked that she give her parents their stylish wishes. Kayla approached Trip and tenderly told him how proud she was of the person in Croker he'd come. Trip continued the love fest by telling Kayla how proud he was to have had her as his tutor.